This is one of those stories that sounds more like a movie than real life. It's about how one guy, with just a laptop and an audacious idea, built $1 billion empire that took on the government itself. He became a ghost, a legend on the dark web, known only by a mythical name. Working from the quiet of a public library, he made a fortune in a new kind of digital gold and commanded an army of anonymous followers. But this is also the story of how it all came crashing down, how one tiny, careless mistake unraveled everything, leading to a dramatic FBI takedown and a sentence designed to lock him away forever. And then, there's his unexpected freedom, a shocking twist that makes you question everything you think you know about crime, punishment, and justice. This is the story of Ross Ulbricht and the rise and fall, and rise again of the Silk Road. This story is a wild ride from start to finish. If you appreciate deep dives into the controversial figures who shape our digital world, for better or for worse, hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss what's coming next. Now, back to the story. Before he was the most wanted man on the internet, Ross Ulbricht was, by all accounts, an outwardly normal, even idealistic guy. Born in Austin, Texas, he was an Eagle Scout and a brilliant physics student who earned his master's in material science. But under that squeaky clean surface, a radical ideology was taking hold. Ulbricht was fascinated by libertarian philosophy, especially the ideas of Austrian economist Ludwig von Mises. He was passionate about individual freedom and came to see government intervention as a form of violence. In his journal, he mapped out a vision that would define his life. He wanted to build a place where people could buy anything anonymously with no trail whatsoever that could lead back to them. This wasn't just about making a quick buck. For Ulbricht, it was a crusade. He called it an economic simulation to show the world what a society without government force could look like. He genuinely believed that if he could create a market free from state control, he could actually change the world. After a couple of failed startups, a video game company, and a used book website, Ulbricht decided to turn his radical dream into a real plan. He would build a digital bazaar, totally anonymous and hidden from the government's view. He called it Silk Road, a name inspired by the ancient trade routes that connected East and West, sparking a global exchange of goods and ideas. To build his anonymous empire, Ulbricht used two emerging technologies. The first was Tor, the onion router. Tor lets people browse the internet anonymously by bouncing their connection through a global network of volunteer-run servers, wrapping it in layers of encryption like an onion. This made it nearly impossible to trace a user's location. Silk Road would live on the Tor network as a hidden service, a ghost in the machine that only those in the know could find. The second key ingredient was Bitcoin. Back in 2011, the cryptocurrency was still a niche interest for tech enthusiasts and cypherpunks, but Ulbricht saw its game-changing potential. Bitcoin transactions were public but pseudonymous, meaning they weren't tied to real names or addresses. It was the perfect currency for a black market, decentralized, hard to trace, and outside the control of any bank or government. By combining Tor for anonymity and Bitcoin for payments, Ulbricht had the blueprint for his libertarian paradise. In January 2011, working from his laptop, he launched the Silk Road. The world of e-commerce and the war on drugs was about to be turned upside down. The Silk Road's launch wasn't a massive explosion, it was a single spark. It started with psychedelic mushrooms that Ulbricht had grown himself. He listed them on the site, and soon enough, he made his first sale. From there, things exploded. Word spread like wildfire on internet forums. In June 2011, a Gawker article titled "The Underground Website Where You Can Buy Any Drug Imaginable" sent a tidal wave of new users to the site and brought the first unwanted attention from the feds. Almost overnight, the Silk Road became the Amazon of illegal drugs. The website felt familiar, like eBay, with seller profiles, product pages, and a 5-star rating system to build trust between anonymous strangers. You could find just about any drug imaginable: weed, cocaine, heroin, LSD, MDMA. But it wasn't only drugs. People sold forged documents, hacking services, and other illicit goods. To maintain some kind of moral compass, Ulbricht set a few ground rules. Anything intended to harm or defraud was banned, which meant no child pornography, stolen credit cards, assassinations, or weapons of mass destruction. Beyond that, it was a free-for-all. By 2013, the site had more than 100,000 active buyers. As the site blew up, so did the myth of its founder. Ulbricht adopted the pseudonym Dread Pirate Roberts, a nod to the character in The Princess Bride, who was actually a series of different men passing down the title. This was a clever move to create a lasting legend while obscuring his true identity. The Dread Pirate Roberts, or DPR, wasn't just a site admin, he was the philosopher king of this new digital nation. He posted manifestos on the forums about his libertarian ideals and his vision for Silk Road as a tool for political change. Behind the curtain, the operation was becoming ruthlessly efficient. All sales were in Bitcoin. To shield users from the currency's wild price swings, the site locked in the dollar value of an order at the time of purchase. The Bitcoin was held in an escrow system until the buyer confirmed they received their package. Then, the funds were released to the seller, and Silk Road took its commission. This system generated a shocking amount of money. During its run, the site facilitated sales of around $200 million. From his commissions alone, Ulbricht amassed a personal fortune in Bitcoin that was eventually valued at over $180 million. He ran this massive criminal enterprise with a tiny team, communicating through encrypted chat. The whole thing was managed from his laptop, often while he jumped between different Wi-Fi cafes in San Francisco to cover his tracks. He was living a double life, a quiet 29-year-old by day, and the mysterious ruler of the internet's biggest criminal marketplace by night. But a kingdom built in the shadows can't last forever. And while the Dread Pirate Roberts was becoming a legend, federal agents were working day and night to unmask him. The hunt for the Dread Pirate Roberts was one of the most intense digital investigations in history. The FBI, DEA, and IRS had teamed up to form a task force called Marco Polo with one goal: shut down the Silk Road. But they were up against a digital fortress. The site was hidden on Tor, and Bitcoin made the money nearly impossible to track. The agents were, for all intents and purposes, chasing a ghost. For 2 years, the investigation felt like an endless series of dead ends. They made undercover buys to trace packages, they tried to hack the site, and they even got an agent deep undercover in DPR's inner circle. But the man himself remained a complete mystery. The breakthrough didn't come from a high-tech cyber attack, but from good old-fashioned detective work and a few careless mistakes by Ulbricht himself. The key clue was discovered by Gary Alford, an IRS investigator on the case. Alford had a simple but brilliant idea. He decided to search the regular internet for the very first mention of the Silk Road's secret web address. His theory was that whoever started the site had to have advertised it somewhere. His search led him to a post on a magic mushroom forum. A user named Altoid had posted a message directing people to the Silk Road, one of the earliest known mentions of the site. Intrigued, Alfred started digging into the Altoid username. He found another post, this time on a programming forum, where Altoid asked a technical question. In that post, from just before Silk Road launched, the user made a fatal mistake. He asked people to email their replies to rossulbricht@gmail.com. That was the crack in the armor they needed. Ross Ulbricht was now their #1 suspect. Agents started connecting the dots. They tracked his movements and found he was living in San Francisco, lining up with server data they'd managed to acquire. Another mistake sealed the deal. Ulbricht had ordered 9 fake IDs from a seller on the Silk Road and had them shipped to his San Francisco address. The package was intercepted at the Canadian border. When Homeland Security agents showed up to question him, he played dumb, but it put their prime suspect right at the scene of the crime. The investigators had their man, but they still needed to prove that Ross Ulbricht was the Dread Pirate Roberts, and they needed to catch him logged into the site's controls. The takedown had to be perfectly timed. On October 1st, 2013, the FBI tracked Ulbricht to the Glen Park branch of the San Francisco Public Library. He was sitting in the science fiction section with his laptop open. 2 undercover agents started arguing loudly nearby to create a distraction. Just as Ulbricht looked up, another agent swooped in, snatched the laptop, and passed it to a tech expert before Ulbricht even knew what was happening. They had caught him, red-handed. The laptop was open to the Silk Road's master control panel, the Dread Pirate Roberts dashboard. The game was up. As agents pinned him against the library window, the anonymous empire came crashing down, all because of a single, traceable name. The trial of Ross Ulbricht in 2015 was a landmark case. Prosecutors painted him as a ruthless kingpin who ran a massive criminal enterprise, enabling millions in drug sales. They argued that Silk Road contributed to addiction and presented evidence attempting to link at least 6 overdose deaths to drugs bought on the site. To show he was more than a passive website operator, they introduced shocking allegations that Ulbricht had solicited the murders for hire of several people he saw as threats at a cost of $730,000. While prosecutors admitted there was no evidence the murders were carried out, and Ulbricht was never formally charged with them in that trial, the allegations help to paint a picture of a man willing to use violence to protect his empire. Ulbricht's defense team claimed he was just a naive idealist who started the site as an economic experiment, but had quickly passed it off to someone else. They argued he was lured back at the end to be the fall guy. The jury didn't buy it. He was found guilty on all 7 counts, including running a continuing criminal enterprise, drug trafficking, and money laundering. On May 29, 2015, Judge Catherine Forrest handed down a sentence that stunned many. 2 life sentences plus 40 years with no possibility of parole. She made it clear she was making an example of him, stating, there must be no doubt that lawlessness will not be tolerated. To his supporters, the sentence was a brutal overreach for a non-violent, first-time offender. To the government, it was a stark warning to anyone who dared to follow his path. The Dread Pirate Roberts was going to die in a cage, but the story didn't end there. From prison, Ulbricht became a cause célèbre for a passionate movement of libertarians, crypto advocates, and prison reform activists. The Free Ross movement gained steam, arguing he was a political prisoner in the war on drugs. They held rallies and petitioned the government, keeping his story alive. His legal appeals failed, but the campaign for his freedom never quit. Then, in 2024, an unlikely and powerful figure took up his cause, Donald Trump. While campaigning at the Libertarian National Convention, Trump promised to commute Ulbricht's sentence if elected. On January 21, 2025, on his first full day back in office, Trump made good on his word, granting Ross Ulbricht clemency. In a social media post, Trump called the life sentence ridiculous. After serving nearly 12 years in prison, Ross Ulbricht, now 41, walked free. His release sparked a firestorm. His supporters celebrated it as a monumental victory for freedom. His critics, including law enforcement and families of overdose victims, saw it as a slap in the face to justice, a celebration of a man who got rich from human misery. Now a free man, Ross Ulbricht has re-emerged as a celebrity in the crypto world, speaking at conferences about his incredible journey. His story remains one of the most polarizing tales of our time. Was he a visionary genius who built a tool for ultimate freedom, or a reckless drug lord who unleashed a public health crisis? An idealist brought down by his own dream, or a kingpin blinded by power? The legend of the Silk Road serves as a powerful parable for our digital age. It demonstrates how radical new technology can fundamentally challenge old systems of power. It highlights the fierce battle between our desire for total anonymity and the government's demand for control. And it forces us to ask tough questions. Does a non-violent, first-time offender deserve to die in prison for creating a website? Where do we draw the line between providing a platform and being responsible for the actions of its users? The story of the Dread Pirate Roberts is more than just a wild true crime saga. It's a mirror reflecting the deep divides that define our world, a conflict between personal liberty and collective security that's playing out every day in the hidden corners of the internet. The dark web is still out there, and it's bigger than ever, with new markets and technologies emerging all the time. The Silk Road was just the beginning. If you want to understand the ongoing fight for the future of the internet, make sure you subscribe for more stories from the digital underground. What empire should we explore next? Let us know in the comments below.